Well, who is going to be the VP's VP? Now, of course, Kamala Harris still has to win the support of enough delegates in order to become the official nominee. But as the current VP, she's the clear favorite. Biden has endorsed her. Most of the party is falling in line behind her. Here are some of the top potential picks for Kamala Harris's running mate. One is Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. Now, he's a successful Democratic leader in a red state. In 2019, he beat a Trump-backed challenger and proved that he can win right-leaning voters, flipping Kentucky from red to blue. Let's take a listen to him speaking this morning.
I'm excited to fully endorse Vice President Harris as for the next president of the United States. The vice president is smart and strong, which will make her a good president. But she's also kind and has empathy, which can make her a great president. And the contrast between her and those running on the other side couldn't be clearer.
Another potential pick is Transportation Secretary, former presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg. He's already got a jump start on attacking Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance. Let's watch that.
I knew a lot of people like him when I got to Harvard. I found a lot of people like him who would say whatever they needed to get ahead. And 5 years ago, that seemed like being the anti-Trump Republican, so that's what he was. Talked about how he was unfit, how he was cynical, called him an opioid, which is kind of a weird thing to say about a person, but definitely a really... But I mean, for somebody whose identity is that they're connected to Appalachia, which has an opioid crisis, that really is the darkest thing you could possibly say about Donald Trump, at least in public. But behind the scenes, apparently, he's actually calling him Hitler, right? Seriously. 5 years later, the way he gets ahead is that he's the greatest guy since sliced bread. And I actually watched this exact same process with somebody else I got to know in my days in the Midwest, which was my former governor, Mike Pence, who I watched start out as an evangelical Christian who cared about rectitude and family values, and then get on board with a guy who was mixed up with a porn star, make excuses for him, so that he could have power.
Maybe it will be Carolina Governor Roy Cooper from my home state of North Carolina. Some have suggested putting Cooper on the 2024 ticket could help flip North Carolina blue. He's also won when Trump was on the ticket, I will say. Plus, he was spotted at a rally with Harrison Thursday in her campaigning in North Carolina. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly has also become an influential voice for national Democrats. And according to a memo from a Democratic-funded polling group, Blue Labs, Kelly is among several battleground Democrats that performed better than Biden in their respective states. There's also Illinois Governor J.D. Pritzker, who endorsed Kamala Harris this morning, writing, quote, "I am endorsing Kamala Harris for president and will work hard to get her elected because I believe that she is the most qualified and capable person to be president." Also, plus for him, he has an estimated $3.5 billion in net worth and will be the host governor when the DNC takes place next month.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro has also been floated as a potential pick. Shapiro previously served as Attorney General of Pennsylvania and has established himself as a popular swing state governor. Then there's Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who has also been in the mix with Michigan as a key state in 2024. Whitmer has already endorsed Harris this morning. In her statement following Biden's announcement, she wrote, quote, "My job in this election will remain the same, doing everything I can to elect Democrats and stop Donald Trump." So that's a good rundown of the potential picks. So it's notable there, those last two options, Josh Shapiro and Gretchen Whitmer, are governors of the two most important states in the election, Michigan and Pennsylvania. They are themselves fairly popular in their states. I know I've seen many kind of Democratic commentators saying, so if we have two popular Democratic governors in the two states we most desperately need to win, shouldn't the ticket just, like, forget Kamala Harris, if we could just do it whatever way we wanted it, shouldn't it be Whitmer Shapiro or Shapiro Whitmer? Because those are like the can't lose states. But which is, you know, if you're just looking at it from a purely how to improve your odds standpoint. But since Harris is, I think, extraordinarily likely at this point to actually be the nominee, I think it would be significantly strong potential option for her to pick one of those two. Now, for whatever the diversity, the racial and gender and all that sort of balance, I know a lot of people expect that an all-female ticket to be unlikely. So according to that, Josh Shapiro would, I think, be more likely than Gretchen Whitmer. I know I saw a lot of jokes on social media that she will be, absolutely looking for a white man. That's a foregone conclusion that, and most of the people in the mix are in fact white men.
Yeah, I don't like the idea that Pennsylvania or Michigan are necessary because these are battleground states. I think it's silly to imagine that just because they voted for them for governor, they'll vote for them on a ticket for president. I don't think that's how politics works.
It kind of
works. And a lot of Democratic
way.
Operatives believe that that's how it works. You need someone who can campaign on the national level. Pete Buttigieg is a heck of a speaker. I mean, you see him there in Bill Maher. I've seen him in person. I was in southwestern Iowa, which is the corner of Iowa that borders Nebraska and Kansas. These are very rural, typical working class Americans. Pete Buttigieg crushed it. And he was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. I don't think being the mayor of a college town is enough to show you can win. But the way he ran when he had a full-fledged campaign, I think demonstrates that he can perform well at the national level. He can perform well on the debate stage. We need someone who can run and win at the national level. I think Cooper's the other good pick. He's termed out of North Carolina. You don't want to run someone who's an active governor and lose a Democratic governorship somewhere. So I think those should be the two top picks.
I mean, these are all good ideas. Mayor Pete speaks very well on television. He's a more compelling speaker than most, or a more effective and articulate advocate for the current administration, which he's been a part of. He is, however, he has the McKinsey ties. I know for a long time people on the left didn't really care for him. It seems to me he's maybe improved his standing with the left somewhat since then, although I'm not an expert on that. It might be, I think the biggest knock against him is that it might be damaging to have, again, two people from within the Biden administration as the ticket. You might want someone, again, who's a governor with a proven track record of winning over independent or right-leaning voters. Roy Cooper would be good. I think Mark Kelly would actually be very good from Arizona, although I'm not, Arizona is such a swing state, and the Senate is different than the governor position in terms of keeping control or having control. Democrats might not want to give up that seat, and then who gets to? The governor gets to appoint, and the governor is currently a Democrat, but that could be just too politically fraught to do that. I think one other point in Josh Shapiro's favor, the Pennsylvania governor, is I heard him speak in the wake of the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. He spoke very movingly about the person who was killed, whom he knew, who he had worked with, and it was a very effective speech. He was clearly grieving, and it came across as very relatable. I saw a lot of conservative people impressed with how he handled all of that. So he can really walk the walk in terms of not being perceived as just another Democrat or just another Biden world type person to independent voters who need to be won over. So
I've got to
say, my pitch for him.
I like Pritzker. I do think a billionaire going up against J.D. Vance, who always talks about his working class roots, has made it his entire personality, would be a bad look. It's hard to say, oh, well, you're a billionaire, so what do you know about working class people? It's hard to respond to that, I'll say. And so I think that matchup is tough. Shapiro being able to speak to the assassination attempt in a time when they're pushing unity would also be a smart pick. I think they just need someone who's proven to campaign at the national level. And I think, so Cooper, Buttigieg, not Pritzker, maybe Josh Shapiro.
Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of good options, so we will see who she ends up picking, assuming she is the nominee, but I think that is, again, extraordinarily likely. This whole race has gotten so interesting. We were all complaining Biden versus Trump, how boring, a rematch nobody wanted, and now the season finale is going to be interesting after all. You'll love to see it, maybe?
Yeah, and the other guy's just like old, so.
Oh, yeah, now we're starting with I saw a little bit of that. Democrats saying, oh my God, the Republican candidate is so old.
The oldest nominee we've ever had.
I cannot even stomach the cynicism of going that way, but all's fair in love and war and politics. More Rising right after this.